When I think about this artist, the word manifest comes to mind. She's multi talented singer, songwriter, acclaimed actress, dancer, whose voice has uplifted, motivated, and penetrated our ears with songs like Rise Up, Stand Up for Something with Common. Her new album, Cassandra, is a beautiful piece that has me just rethinking a lot of things about my past relationships and my future relationships. And I'm so happy to have her to the show because I want to thank her for just her beautiful rendition and portraying Billie Holiday. Welcome to the show,
Hey,
Andra Day. How are you today?
I'm so good. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for having me. And thank you for that introduction. I'm like, whoa.
I want to talk about the music, but I want to say when I saw you in the United States versus Billie Holiday, I was on the plane when I was watching it, and I just was like, wow,
Wow.
she embodied Billie Holiday because she was a beautiful person, a troubled soul, but you did such a great job. The awards showed it. I know people expressed it. In your career, I would like to ask you, just portraying that person and you as an artist, how was that just moment in life?
That moment was, what's so funny? That moment was transformative, I will say, and and I should have known that it would have been that because again, I didn't want to do it at first. So I was like trying to pray my way out of it, Like,
Yeah.
but I was realizing it was like, okay, I'm gonna be this was an act of faith, you know what I mean? Saying
Mm-hmm.
yes and doing that project. And it was such a blessing being able to work with Lee and being able to work with Tasha and that cast of people. But that moment in life was really transformative. I mean, like I said, there were moments that were hard and they were heavy, because just of how, and I will say how she unfortunately had to live, you know what I mean? How she had to maneuver as being a Black woman in the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
Um, and but at the same time, it was so amazing. Like I think about it in the most fondest of feelings where I loved being her. You know what I mean? It was not for me,
Yeah.
it was playing her. It was like being her. And that felt amazing. I'm so fond of those memories and all those people. And I'm just really grateful for that time. And then, like you said, for the greater community in acting and in just the arts and entertainment to recognize it was like, it was not what I expected. I really expected to be so bad. I honestly definitely expected to be bad. And then eventually I forgot about it entirely and was just like, I felt like her. I just really felt like her. So it was an incredible moment. It changed my music, you know what I mean? It changed my,
Yeah.
and in some ways harder, you know what I mean? I lost relationships because of it, and not because of the movie, but just how it kind of had, how I let it sort of transform me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some things I think were necessary, some things I don't think were, but I'm so, when I think about that period, it's just fond. I love her so much, and I love the people I got to work with, and I'm glad that like her legacy, that people can watch that movie and go like, oh, she was an early godmother of the neo civil rights movement. Like she really fought to sing that song and to talk about
Yeah.
racial terror. I love that her legacy can be vindicated in, you know what I mean, in this form.
Amazing. Great job. I'm looking to
Thank you.
see you in more
Yes, there's a few more.
films and stuff. Yes, absolutely. I had to start with that because when I start getting into this music, honey, you did your thing with this. But let's start for the listeners of the Hybrid Soul. Yes, we know your voice. We recently got a chance to see you at the Super Bowl. Do
Yes.
lift every voice.
Mhm.
Um, these experiences that you're having, just starting in your journey as an artist in the music and having the world to see you, when you look back over your life, what has been the consistent lesson and reminders for you?
Oh, that's really good. What has been the consistent lesson and reminders? Um, I think the consistent lesson, well, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about that is to trust God. And I know it sounds really cliche and whatever, I'm sure for some people, but for me, it's like I think it's like something amazing can happen, and then I'm like, okay, now I need to control it. Now I need to make sure that we can do this again, and that we can, and just it's like continue to have a heart posture that, of course, you want to do well. It's okay, that it's good to have goals and to, you know what I mean, to do those things, but to have a heart posture. Like for me, I just say, I'm like, I want my life to honor God. I want to love God. I want to love people, and so if I go into things with that posture, like, of course, I'm gonna like stumble and fall and, be selfish and do all the human stuff.
Yeah.
But I think I have a grounding, you know what I mean? And that's what it gives me. It gives me a purpose. It gives me a why. It gives me a grounding. So is to trust God and to like, you know, and to really believe the things that I've learned spiritually, which is that like, you know, um, that plans for me are greater and they're higher, you know what I mean? And to, so and I want everybody to walk in their life knowing that and
Yeah.
believing that themselves. So I think that's kind of for me the primary thing.
When we talk about this new project, Cassandra, Cherith, I wanted to find out how did you put the in quotes Cherith?
Yeah.
What is that meaning, and why did you add that?
Because it's the person in the place, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
kind of like the the noun. It's the person in the place. And I was sort of wanting to sum up all the facets of me. I was like, what should I call it? And then I just realized Cassandra just makes sense because I've just been a whole bunch of different versions of me
Mm-hmm.
throughout these years, impacted by the movies, by Billy, the few movies we did recently, exhibiting forgiveness and the deliverance
Mm-hmm.
with Lee, and then just in relationships, learning in this season where I was like, oh, I'm good, and I'm like, maybe I'm not as great in relationships as I thought. Maybe I'm more selfish, you know what I mean, than I thought. And I'm like, and at the same time, maybe I allow too much that you know what I'm saying? Like, where I'm just
Yeah.
always trying to be like, oh, it's okay. I'm always trying to kind of step in for somebody and be like, it's okay. So on this record, I'm a little more like, nah, you did it. and,
What?
and I'm mad at you and it's your fault. And like, so it's both of those things, learning what healthy boundaries are, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but Cherith means it actually it's a place in scripture. It's a brook. It's called the brook Cherith. And it is a place that God brought Elijah to. And it means the place of isolation or to cut away. And I really love that because he needed to go to this place of isolation where he had nothing and he had nothing to offer and he was empty. And God said, you'll drink water from the brook and I'll command the birds of the air to bring you bread and meat. So it's just this idea that it's like, you know, the plans for our life are amazing, but we do need to go to those isolated, quiet places sometimes and be filled up in order to go to the mountaintop, because that was kind of like his story. And so, it was me sort of embracing this wilderness space or this space of emptiness where I'm like, I'm not doing anything. I have nothing to offer. I'm on E. Like I need to actually be filled up. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
instead of trying to be like, I can do everything and I can, it's just like, nah, I'm on E and I have peace about that because I'm still where I'm supposed to be. You know what I mean? Like,
Amen. I so, if you only knew, I so relate to that.
oh, I love that.
For real. Um, the person, uh, Andra Day, from Cheers to the Fall to Cassandra now. What's been um what's been your favorite part of this transformation and growth and elevation?
Mm, my favorite part of this journey. Oh, that's a really good question. I think of this growth and this transformation. I mean, musically, just exploring more, taking a little
Yeah.
bit more control as far as like the people around me and like the
Mhm.
sound and the things, trusting, the voice and the gifts that I've been given a little bit more. Cause, I love being collaborative and I know that like there's blessings in collaboration. But collaboration can also be like, hey, I'm clear, like people helping you bring your vision to life. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to having to lean on other people's vision. Uh, which sometimes can serve a purpose, but I think like really exploring my voice and the gifts I've been given, and like to be able to think something and to be able to like pray about it, receive it, to think it, to put it together, and then to see it put out into the world and brought to fruition. Like it's a
Mhm.
terrifying feeling. But when people respond well, or even if they don't, it's just like, yeah, but it worked. You know what I mean? And then
Yeah.
you move on to the next thing. So really trusting the gifts I've been given, trusting my voice in this space, learning to grow in that has been an amazing thing. And just I think anytime there's growth, like when you're in the midst of something, like the relationship stuff, it hurts. But once you get some perspective and you get a little clarity, you're like, all right, it sucked. It seems like I took the long way around, but I'm really grateful for the lessons. Like I love revelation. I love clarity, you know what I mean? And so yeah, just trusting the gifts, trusting my own voice, exploring the producing side, like me as a fully fleshed out creator, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or getting to that space. Yeah, those are some of the things that I feel like I really enjoyed.
So before I start going on the songs that really hit me, how
Mhm.
fun was this making this project? Because you had a team,
Yeah.
a production team, a writing team. Please tell me a little bit about these people because I'm a credit
Yeah.
person. So
Love
I see
it. Love it. Love it.
all
Yes.
these people that I was like, okay, she had a team because they worked on all these songs of for Cassandra Cherith.
Yes.
Tell me about how did you put this team together, the writing
So
process and all.
no, thank you. Because I love the people involved. I'm so grateful for them. So it was, and I'm actually going to shout all of them out. There was my band, my core band, which I took off the road. They were my touring band, but I wanted to
Uh-huh.
just make them, more into producers on this record. And because they're just brilliant. They're brilliant artists and creators and all the things. So, and I feel more free when I'm around them. So it's Nando Rayo, Dave Wood, Charles Jones, Shay Godwin. um and then later on I was introduced to a producer, Jacques Pierre, that my brother introduced me to, and they had sent me some of his stuff, and I was like, and when I was like, okay, let me get to it, I'll get to it. When I finally listened, I was like, oh, thank God, I love what he's doing. I don't have
Right.
to be like, oh, this is okay, you know what I mean? I was like, I really love.
Yeah.
So I brought in Jacques Pierre as well too. I brought in John DeCure, who's a good friend of mine, Kevin Randolph, who are incredible producers and keyboard players, Jayla Darden. I also brought in Kendra Foster, who's a good friend of mine, and she wrote on the Vanguard. She's a part of D'Angelo's The Vanguard. And then a friend of mine who really started out as a fan, he did like fan art, and he was just uploading stuff on Instagram, Jesus Delgadillo. And I just was like, yo, this is amazing writing. Like you're a great writer. He was like, no, no, no. I was like, nah, I'm flying you out to California. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Um, who else am I missing? Caleb Morris, Spencer Garris, Scott Burton. Um,
Wow.
I'm just trying to think of, but these are all people who were family. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we were all family, and we were doing other things together. And it was just like, well, I like creating in family environments. So why not just bring family in? My actual brother, Jackson Dallas Beatty, came in and played guitar on one of the songs as well, too. My mom is lending her voice at the end of the record.
Yes. I
You
wanted
know,
to talk about that.
family, and I wanted to keep, a family environment around for sure. And
So
Zephyriah Gonzalez, sorry, I forgot to mention his name.
amazing team. This project, and I looked at all the team. I was like, I would have loved to be in the room, putting these songs together, listening to the playback. Amazing project. So kudos once again to you for this project. So when you put this project, the first single I heard was "Where Did We Go?"
Yes. Oh.
Andra, that was on repeat because I had said, "What? What did she say?" I was like, what? No, seriously, it was on repeat, repeat, repeat. Like for what the platform I listened to, it was like that month, the top songs of that, Where Did We Go was number one.
Oh wow.
I
Wow,
need to
that's amazing.
the words, because we all have that one person that we're just hung up on that nail,
Yep.
and it just we have our rose colored glasses on, and we
Oh
just
my
it takes us a lot to let go because we know it's bad. We know
God.
it's
Right,
bad.
right.
When you were in the room writing that song, Where Did We Go? Please, was that a personal a thing, a group
Absolutely.
thing?
Absolutely. It's this idea that like the song is really, it's such a it's the dance that we do, the circles that we do, that's like sort of like, when people, when what I call it, the spin the block song, because it's just like you're just truly not ready to let go, but you have to let go. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's that dance that we do where we're like, okay, well, we need to meet up and get together for and talk about closure. You know what I mean? Like people always use it's the funniest anomaly in the world to me is people using the idea of closure to keep the door open. Like
Yep. Yep.
the contradiction of that is amazing. Like, but we all do it. It's like sending that like happy birthday text. Like, I don't need to do that. Like, but
Hey, big head.
no, exactly. 100%. Oh, that damn hey big head text. Man, listen, let me not hold on. I'm gonna come. I had good.
Hey, big head.
Mhm.
Let me
But
tell
that
you.
song is really that is actually probably one of my favorite songs on the record
Yeah.
because it was really just pouring out. It was like, why? I know I'm not supposed to have this. I know I'm supposed to let this go, but then it's like the question of like the end is kind of an outburst. It's like, why not though? Like, why can't the one thing I want so bad in the world be the thing that is for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, and it's funny, I'm literally dealing with it right now. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, it's hard. And I wanted to make something that felt like that sort of song and dance. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then first of like when we decide to actually text or call a person or respond or just go for broke, like what does that sound like musically? You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I wanted to approach it that way.
Amazing. How involved are you in the projects that you've had, even with your first project, Cheers to the Fall? I know you're wiser now, being a part of these singles, releasing the singles.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm heavily involved. Um, I could probably be a bit controlling actually at times, but no, but no, I mean, I'm collaborative. I work with the people around me and try to listen, and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also like a praying person. So it's like pray about it, listen to the people around and like take advice as well too, and then just do what you feel like in your gut, like I wanted to lead with Where Do We Go as the single off of this record, just because I don't know, I feel like it was like the first time we had been back in such a long time. And I really noticed that like it's a song that it requires patience and it requires stillness. Does that make sense? Like it's not like, oh, it's an
Yeah.
easy bop. You know what I mean? Like it requires time and dedication to listen to it. So it's a little bit risky, but I was like, that is what I kind of want my first presentation to be off. You know what I'm saying? Off of this.
Yeah. It
Uh,
worked.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then with Rise Up on the first album, that song wasn't even supposed to be slated on to be on the album. You know what I mean? It was like we had finished the album and then the label actually was like, "Hey, we want to play you something." And I was joking like they were like, "We want to play you something." I was like, "No." And they were like, "You wrote it." And I was like, let me listen to it." So and then they played me Rise Up and it became like glaringly clear that it was like, okay, this is, you know what I mean? This definitely needs to be the single, but it was that and Forever Mine. So, it was my choice and a group choice, but I definitely am, I'm heavily involved when it comes to the singles, the sequencing and all that stuff, because it's super personal, you know what I mean?
Yeah. You have timeless music that will always live because you don't have a date on Rise Up.
I think,
When you were crafting yourself to become an artist and you were getting into music, who were some of your artists and people that influenced you in
um,
your musical journey?
well, I just sang to one of them last night, which was so crazy. I was like, there was a tribute to Lauryn Hill as there should
Yeah,
always be tributes to Lauryn Hill. And I was singing Can't Take My Eyes Off You, and she was in the audience. And she just was like, oh my, I can't. It's just one of those, it hit me hard in that moment. I was just like so emotional and crying. And I was just like, because she just, yeah, she's just that album, her writing, just her artistry, her voice, her expression of her
yeah,
creativity, her blackness, and her womanhood is so beautiful. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
so. She's absolutely one of them. I call them the trifecta. They're the holy neo soul trinity to me. But Lauryn Hill, Erica Badu, Jill Scott. I'm like, yeah, those three women are like. But it's also, music soul child from that era as well too. Bilal, Robert Glasper, who is now a friend of mine, but was like a huge inspiration. You know what I'm saying? Is a huge inspiration. Billie Holiday is like number one, definitely, top for me. Aretha, Whitney, Nina Simone, Dinah Washington, Ella Fitzgerald, like they're just
Yeah.
like Ray, Sade, Anita Baker. Um, I mean, these are just there's so many. I tell people all the time, I'm just like I feel super greedy with inspiration. You know what I mean? And people are like, this is my one did it and only. I'm like, nope, Michael Jackson, Stevie, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Let's talk
um,
about Stevie Wonder. He is I would consider him being a mentor to you.
absolutely. I look at him as kind of like a godparent in the business to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Him and his Kai Miller Morris at the time it was his wife at the time. They actually really helped discover me and put me on. And actually, he's who introduced me to the first producer that did my first record, Adrian Gervitz. So, and then we ended up doing the Christmas song together and just have performed together. He's had me come out while he's performing at Madison Square Garden and the Staples Center when it was the Staples Center. What do they call it now? What's the name of the stadium?
Um, is
Cryptocurrency.
it crypto? Crypto, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and just getting to know the family and his kids and Tamika, I just these are just really wonderful people. He's a wonderful person, a beautiful soul. And, he's someone when I think about Stevie, I think clearly just one of the greatest legends that's ever lived, But also I think about impact, you know what I mean? Like it really matters to him how he impacts the world for love. And I think that's so beautiful. And that just continues to remind me like, yeah, impact, you know what I mean, is what
Yeah.
really matters. But I'm so grateful because, you know, when I first met him, we had a conversation on the phone. He had heard some music that I did, and
Hmm.
we had a conversation on the phone, but I didn't hear anything after that for like a year from them. And I was told at the time by the person I was working with that I just wasn't good enough. They didn't like me. It's not going to happen and da 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 and all this. So I was like, okay, hurt, but I was also like, I mean, if Stevie Wonder thinks I'm not good enough, that's an impossible bar. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so, but it turns out that was not the case. They actually reached out to me again and held on to my information and then explained what actually had happened, which is that the guy was trying to get money from them to get in the studio with me. And so the fact that it was like they had that call and then held on to my information, reached out again. I just, when people like believe like that, it's special, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I adore him for all the reasons the world adores him, and I adore him and his family for the personal reasons in my career as well too.
Amazing. I have a curious question for singers because you were singer. Staying ready, being going to an event, you're there to watch it, and they go, Andra Day, come
Uh-huh.
on up here and sing.
Sometimes you're like, cool, I'm gonna do it. And da-da-da. Sometimes you be like, do I ask you to do my taxes on your day off? No, I do not. Because sometimes, listen, I think the thing is, listen, I love singing. You know what I'm saying? Although it's actually been harder. I've had a harder, challenging relationship with my voice lately, just because it had gone through some changes. Obviously, doing
Hmm.
business, I had some wear on it because I was not taking care of it. Like I was in her headspace. I needed all the gravel, and it was worth it. I would do it
Yeah.
again. But so just kind of like coming through from that. Um, and so I've had some more challenges with it lately. Sometimes I've literally had moments where I'm like, I'm not enjoying singing this at all. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, it's so hard. But it's actually coming to as I'm using the muscle again more. But yeah, I mean, you should stay ready. Am I ready all the time? No, I'm not ready all the time.
Right.
But sometimes I am. And then sometimes you're excited to just jump on and do something you want to, because you love it. But I think when the spotlight's on, he was like, hey, come sing this song. You're like, okay. Because sometimes you
You're
just want to
like,
enjoy a show. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and listen, I tell people all the time, this is biology. It goes out like the rest of this. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
you do have to pick and choose and you do have to be careful. And I think people's intentions are good. They just want to hear you. You know what I mean? But you also have to use like wisdom and discernment to know, like, you have take very good care of this because it does not
Yeah.
last forever. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's just, but yeah, it'd be like that sometimes, but it's cool.
I
I do
find
it
it
for you.
so
Like
funny.
I do it for you.
Yeah, right, right. What where do you find balance with being so busy promoting? What's your balance?
Well, I'm not married and I ain't got no kids, so all I got is time. So I'm trying to upset the balance a little bit. You know what
Right,
I'm saying? I'm trying.
right. Right.
No, no. I mean, I find balance. The truth is, I'm working on finding balance better. You know what I mean? And making,
Mm-hmm.
because the thing is, I'll take time for myself, but historically, I have felt guilty about taking time for myself. I'm like, oh, and I'm missing out. I'm missing out on this and all this stuff and whatever. But I realize if I don't do that, then when I do show up, I'm like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, I don't want to be here. I have an attitude. I'm like, that's not a way to go into these amazing things and opportunities, you know? So I'm actually like taking more, trying to carve out time for myself to
Mm-hmm.
do it confidently and to do it without feeling bad or guilty. Like, oh, why didn't, I'm missing out on this or I'm doing. So and I'm a prayerful person. I do devotion in the morning, which I prayed, but I missed the full thing this morning, so I'm gonna jump into it.
Me too.
But yeah, I was like, but I bust that prayer off. But so that's the thing. My spiritual relationship, my relationship with the Lord is really what kind of balances me because I'm like, all right, I know that if I listen to the Spirit, then I'll be filled up wherever I go. So, and
Yeah.
I do. Eventually I will like, a family and whatever. Like I feel I'm very like open to and excited about the idea of that. So do I have balance all the time? No. A lot
Yeah.
of times I don't, but I'm also I think a part of balance is also accepting that things will not be balanced all the time. You know what I'm saying?
I get that. Yeah. The project Cassandra. Um, like I said, I love it. I love that you brought your mother in and you incorporated Psalm 62
Mm.
in this song.
That was her choice.
Uh,
That was her creative choice. She
oh,
said, "You can
nice.
say whatever you want to say on the end." Da, 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 da. She said, "I'm gonna read scripture." I said, "Perfect."
That's beautiful. How has this journey been with your family, with your mom? Because you always talk so much highly and poster about your mother. This journey, musical journey, and bringing her that relationship.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. I think, again, I always want family involved. I think, like I said, I don't have kids. Like my family, it's interesting. My mother's my mother, my father's my father, my siblings are my siblings, but I kind of put into them as if they're you know what I mean? My kids and
Yeah,
because that's kind of what I do it for. Like, just creatively, I want them to have their own stake and their own investment in things, things that I do.
yeah,
Um, and so having her be a part of that was really having her say yes was actually what was crazy because my mother is so shy, like you know what I mean. But it's funny, she's a praying woman. She's who prayed all of her kids, into a relationship with God, and so I feel like for her, she's doing this thing in the last year where she's like, I'm like, okay, lady, I know you don't want to sit next to a stranger. And she was like, no, I'm fine with it. I was like, what? She was like, yeah, God's working on me. So she's like being more social. She's trying to, she's now a greeter at her church. Like, I was like, just talking to everybody, like,
right.
so it's actually been cool because I think her agreeing to do the record was just like a part of like, just her growth personally, you know what I mean? And not being afraid in those spaces. Um, and just in general, I mean, I think everybody, we have great relationships and difficult relationships with our parents, with our mothers, with our, fathers and whichever one we're, blessed to have, or father figures, mother figures,
Yeah,
Uh, but I think again, there's something I was saying this the other day that there's something that happens when you get older and you start seeing your parents as human beings. And I was like, my mom is a human of good character, and she's
hmm,
also an incredible survivor. And I think that once you get to know what your parents have gone through, then it's like I say the things that might have bothered me when I was younger are things that now I look at and I'm like, wow, she's a beast. You know what I mean? I'm like
yeah,
that's not just surviving, like that's thriving when I know her backstory now. You know what I'm saying? And so she's an amazing woman. She's a really interesting woman. She be trying me too. You know what I'm saying? Like she's my mother. But then she be keeping me accountable, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I'd be like, lady, you know what I'm saying? Like, but we got, we have a good mother-daughter relationship and friendship.
yeah. It's always good to have that person. I love when you after you put out in the project in your new project Cassandra, you did Where Did We Go? Then you did Probably. And now Chasing. OMG. Another OMG.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Look, between chasing bags and chasing love.
Yeah.
Okay?
Always caught in the middle of that somewhere. Somewhere is like this idea of pursuit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
like this it's also just this idea that we somehow we have believed the lie that we do not have all the things we need. We don't have all the love we need. We do not have all the resources we need. And listen, we live in America. That's consumerism, right? You know what I mean? It's just
Mm-hmm.
like you have to feel like chasing is really the epitome of like that what the album is kind of examining, which is like living life from a place of lack versus living life from a place of abundance, actually believing that you have everything you need, the community you need, the resources you need, you know, the power, the strength, the courage that you need, the purpose that you need. And so yes, I just, you know, it was amazing actually. That was one of the ones that Jacques Pierre, the producer, produced, and he sent over with like the chorus like idea on it already. You know what I mean? And I was like chasing bags and chasing love. And when I tell you, I locked in so heavy on it because I was just like, yes, this is why
Yeah.
I'm exhausted because I am somewhere between those two worlds of like chasing money so that we can have the things we need so that we're valuable enough, and then chasing love so that we can feel that we're worthy of love. And it's just like, what does it look like if I actually believe that all of these things I already have? You know what I mean? Like if I stop believing the lie of lack. And so the album is a journey to get to that place. You know what I mean? I love that song. I'm very grateful for that song.
And I feel like your career has been like this journey, the build up, because in between Cheers to the Fall, you had Marshall, you had the soundtrack for Billie Holiday, and you've worked with all these amazing people. You've
Hmm.
had so many moments. You sang for the Obamas.
Hmm.
I'm curious to know what has been that goosebump moment like, I'm here? That happened? What's that goosebump moment for you?
Well, there's a lot of them, and I will tell you, singing "Can't Take My Eyes Off You" in front of Lauryn Hill last night as a tribute to her was a goosebump moment. Like I was just like, you know, I was able to just tell her a little bit just to how much that I loved her, and we've spoken before, and she has always been just so supportive and gracious and wonderful. Like, but to be able to do that for her was a moment because I'm like that album impacted me so much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it really helped to grow me, you know, into a woman. Like. Um, so that was a moment. Absolutely. I mean, being invited to the White House for the first time because they were like, well, the first conversation was like, Michelle wants to talk to you. I was like, absolutely not. Do you? I was like, when they first told me, I literally was like, no. My manager was just like, we're not even gonna let you self-sabotage. We already said yes, you're going. So period. Because they know that was one of my biggest insecurities. I always felt like I'm not smart enough, I'm not educated enough, I'm not, you know, I'm not qualified to be in this room, and I'm not, and then to be talking to like the first lady, Mrs. Obama. I was just, y'all, come on. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like so, but I'm so glad that I went, and she was doing this incredible initiative at the time about it was called Let Girls Learn, and they were using my song for it. And it was an initiative. It had $1 billion in funding. Obviously that all when
Wow.
Trump got in office, but you know, she was traveling the world and really speaking um, so brilliantly to these regimes that you know would not allow their women to be educated or to be in positions of power. And she was explaining to them how like, hey, economically, you're actually missing out. You know what I mean? She's like,
Yes.
baseline money, like you'll be doing better. So it was incredible singing at the White House, then being invited back a few times. The goosebump moment, I was able to bring my entire family at different points in times
Wow.
to the White House to meet either the president or the first lady or both of them. So that was truly truly a blessing. And
Amazing.
I mean, there's
Uh,
been some moments, you know.
yeah. I want to thank you because I love that we're able to watch your journey like through just film and music. And, I want to just affirm you that this project, all the time and love that you put into it from top to bottom, it's an amazing project. Uh, every time I listen to it, I find something new to go back and think about it. Job
Oh,
well done.
thank
Job
you
well
so
done.
much. Oh, thank you. And that means the world. Thank you for that. Oh my goodness.
Yes. And before I let you go, I would love to just know what's next. I know you're promoting Cassandra, Cherith, but what's next? How can we see you in the coming days and months out
Yes,
on the
very,
road?
So we're working. The album dropped May 10th, so definitely check that out. We are going to film music videos. People are like, when do we get music videos? I was like, I don't, when the spirit moves, I don't, you know what I mean? The idea's got to be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we will have visuals out for that soon. I am performing at headlining the Blue Note Jazz Festival. I'm excited about that. And then we'll be in Napa for my brother Robert's Jazz Festival in September. We start touring in August, and then also The Deliverance comes out. I'm excited. It comes out in fall. It's the new movie with myself, Lee Daniels, Glenn Close, Monique, Ingenue Ellis, Debbie Singleton, Caleb McLaughlin, Anthony Jenkins. Like, I'm just really, really excited about this cast of people. Exhibiting Forgiveness releases soon with myself and Ingenue and Andre Holland, John Jokes. So it's to Titus Kafar is the painter who directed the movie. So there's a few things that are coming, and I'm looking forward to it. You know.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your just contribution to the culture. And I look forward to meeting you in person one day.
Yes, you
And
have to do
just,
it.
yes, absolutely. All the best to you. Today, The Hybrid Soul with Kelly Kinkaid. We are your destination for R&B discovery. And my guest today is Andra Day. Thank you.
Love.